Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Dr. Suraiya Shahin and today I will deal on the topic Sailing to Byzantium. Sailing to Byzantium is a very important poem which is mentioned in the syllabus of every college across India. And this is a masterpiece of modern poetry. This poem, Sailing to Byzantium, is a kind of utopia where the poet W.B. Yeats wants to escape the bad world and he desires to move towards a good world, right? So, Sailing to Byzantium is a deeply philosophical poem by William Butler Yeats, which explores the themes of time, death, mortality, immortality, aging, and desire to move towards a place which is suitable to the old man and which values intellect rather than the physical pleasure and the pleasure of sexuality. This poem, Sailing to Byzantium, published in 1927, and it is the first poem in the volume of verses called The Tower. You know the verses Tower by W.B. Yeats. Byzantium, the old name for Constantinople or Istanbul, was the capital of the eastern part of the Roman Empire. Byzantium was a great center of mosaic art and metal enameling, and its fall to the Turks in 1453 led to the revival of Greek art and culture known as the Renaissance. That's why in this poem Byzantium symbolizes home transcendental country. Byzantium symbolizes home transcendental country. It symbolizes a place out of time and nature, a work of intellect, art and philosophy. Now I talk about the form of this poem. This poem is divided into 4 stanzas and each stanza consists of 8 lines. If I talk about the meter, it is written in iambic pentameter. This poem is written in iambic pentameter and the rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B, A, B, C, C. Now I deal the first stanza where the poet writes, "That is no country for old men. The young in one another's arms burst in the trees. Those dying generations add their songs. The salmon falls, the mackerel crowded seas, fish, flesh, or fowl, comment all summer long. Whatever is begotten, born, and dies, caught in that sensual music, all neglect." Monuments of unaging intellect. Monuments of unaging intellect. So in the first stanza, the poet says that he is not satisfied with the country where he has been living. W.B. Yeats, he is not satisfied with the country where he has been presently living. And where he has been living presently? In Ireland. Because it is not suitable, not favorable for old men. That's why he is not satisfied with Ireland. As we know that W.B. Yeats is an Irish poet and he was born in Ireland. In this poem, Ireland stands for youth. Ireland stands for youth and Byzantium stands for old people. So we find there are 2 things that symbolize in this poem, right? Ireland and Byzantium. The poem reflects the contrast between the 2 ages of people, that is youth and old age. When the poet says that that is no country for old men, he refers to Ireland. When he says that that is no country for old men, he refers to Ireland. The poet is now growing old and realizes that Ireland is a country which is not suitable for old men. Why? Because in this country, Ireland, all living creatures are indulged in sensual and sexual pleasures. The young in one another's arms, birds in the trees, all are indulged in physical pleasure and sexual pleasure, which is not suitable for the old men. Physical pleasure and sexual pleasure, what W.B. Yeats considers, is not suitable for the old men. The poet W.B. Yeats hates such a kind of world where birds, beasts, fish, and even young human beings spend their valuable time in physical enjoyment. And this physical enjoyment leads to reproductive activity. According to the poet, Ireland is a sensual world where people are indulged, engrossed in sensuality and sexuality, and where all neglect monuments of unaging intellect. When he uses the phrase all neglect monuments of unaging intellect, he means to say that in Ireland nobody cares for art, philosophy, and intellect. People in this country, Ireland, don't value the work of art and literature, which are the creation of mind and spirit, and this creation is immortal. The product of the mind and the spirit and are immortal, and the youth in Ireland love to sing the sensual song, sexual music which excite this sexual pleasure, and they don't value the spiritual knowledge, monuments, and arts which are immortal. Clear? Now I deal the second stanza where the poet writes, an aged man is but a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, unless soul clap it, bands and sing, and louder sing. For every tatter in its mortal dress, nor in their singing school but studying monuments of its own magnificence, and therefore I have sailed the seas and come to the holy city of Byzantium. I have sailed the seas and come to the holy city of Byzantium. This is what W.B. Yeats is saying. In this stanza, the poet discusses the transience of life, that old age is the time of physical decay and decline, when a man no longer remains in a position to enjoy physical and sexual pleasure. He becomes worthless and helpless, means the old man becomes worthless and helpless as a scarecrow. The poet here compares an old man with a tattered coat upon a stick. You know, tattered coat upon a stick and a scarecrow, how it is helpless. An old man's figure becomes like a scarecrow, which seems as if a stick is wrapped with tattered coat, a dress which is torn and which has many holes. An old man is considered a worthless and helpless as a scarecrow unless he devotes his valuable time by studying the spiritual and immortal work of art. The older a man grows, the greater should be his devotion to the study of philosophical and spiritual art. Since Byzantium, according to the poet, is the traditional place of immortal art, the poet desires to go there and devote his time to the study of immortal works of art. He calls Byzantium a holy city because this place, Byzantium, invites to spend the time in spiritual and intellectual activity rather than physical and sexual pleasure. So this is all about the second stanza. Now I deal the third stanza, where the poet writes, O sages standing in God's holy fire, as in the gold mosaic of a wall, come from the holy fire, burn in desire, and be singing masters of my soul. Consume my heart away, sick with desire, and fasten to a dying animal. It knows not what it is, and gather me into the artifice of eternity. So in this stanza, in this third stanza, the poet invokes sages to come from holy fire and be singing masters of his soul. This stanza states the poet's imagination after arriving in Byzantium. He thinks that as soon as he reaches Byzantium, he will not pray to God, but he will pray to God's saints, sages, to come down from heaven and teach his soul to sing the appreciation of art, the art which is immortal. The poet feels that he is sick of life, fed up of life, a life that is meaningless and devoid of all intellectual spiritual activity. The poet compares himself to a dying animal. His present situation is like a dying animal which is unable to enjoy any physical or sexual activity. The sages in this stanza symbolize purity, innocence, and spirituality. And that's why the poet W.B. Yeats calls upon the saints to come down from heaven and be his teacher. He urges the saints to purify him of the sensuous and physical pleasure and take him to the spiritual and philosophical world. Okay, now the last stanza. Once out of nature, I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing, but such a form as Grecian goldsmiths make of hammered gold and gold enameling to keep a drowsy emperor awake, or set upon a golden bow to sing to lords and ladies of Byzantium of what is past or present, passing on to come. The last stanza highlights the poet's final decision to stay permanently in Byzantium. He says that once he is dead, means once the poet is dead, he imagines that once he is dead, that is out of nature, means the moment he is physically dead, he will not enter the body of any living creature. Instead, he would like to become a golden bird which is a perfect work of art made by the great artists of Byzantium. He would like to be a golden nightingale singing on a golden bough, which, because such birds are used to wake up the kings, lords and ladies of Byzantium with the beautiful song, singing to them of the past, the present, and the future. That's why the poet W.B. Yeats is longing to be a golden nightingale bird, and in this way he too would sing the beautiful song of the past, the present, and the future. So overall, Yeats reflects on the power of art which can transform the world in its own way. He desires to stay permanently in Byzantium and never wants to come back. Because here, people are not judged by age, but by intellect and immortal work of art. Hence, the poet wants to escape the sensuality of physical world and move towards Byzantium to achieve a kind of spiritual immortality. So, this is all about this poem. Thank you.